Alright, tonight I'm going to be reading from Gods in Nagasaki, which is a novella in my thesis. It has a lot of narrative threads running through it and a lot of characters, but the selection I'm reading tonight only has two. It'll start with fiction and then move into nonfiction, where the speaker is myself, and it'll be pretty clear when I switch. So, God or gods, Eddie wasn't sure standing in the museum. Behind a case of glass on a pedestal, little colored beads melted into a conglomeration, somewhere in there a silver cross. The melted rosary was the beginning. From there it just got worse. Eddie was cultivating the right kind of passive observing for these things. Hiroshima had been practice, its careful museum focusing so much on buildings and artifacts. Hiroshima had Sadako's tiny paper cranes, a children's book she'd read long ago. Nagasaki had giant black and white photographs of bodies plastered along the walls. She didn't gasp or cry when she saw them. She even allowed herself to linger. Yes, that living child standing beside a corpse. Yes, that man standing on a pile of corpses. Yes, all very interesting, she would have said, standing still and non-aggressive, almost calculating seconds. See, I am a good American, she projected. I come to see these things, and then I take them home with me. See, I am a foreigner, and I am here. Be proud of me. And they were proud. The woman who had brought them here, Eddie and Hannah, backpack twins, trekking up and down the hills of Nagasaki, had seemed surprised at their destination, supposed them lost, perhaps, and then, hearing of their errand, walked back the way she had just come to deliver them even to the proper side of the street, before bowing and saying something and leaving. Hannah had talked. Eddie stood by, as she always did. She caught words in context, but didn't process them in time. In the museum, Hannah stared at the pictures open-mouthed and wide-eyed. She hadn't figured out how not to linger too long. Later, Eddie would try to write something profound. She would write short sentences and think of them as poignant. She would skip space between lines. She would put words in strange places, all in the hopes that somehow it would come out the way she saw it. But so far, she lacked the ability to write that all down. She lacked the ability to write almost anything down, other than things like, this morning our bus pulled into Hakata station and we had to change buses and it was really confusing. Or, Nagasaki is cold so far and it snowed when we got here. And other silly non-details. Our last stop before finding our bus station was the Hill of the 26 Martyrs. The hill was a hard climb. Our calves were burning and we panted as we snapped pictures of the monument, Christians who had been crucified there, on that spot. The chapel was concrete and covered in mosaic, strange chunky spires and so many bits of colored glass and stones. After wandering a little, we had to skip the museum, had to hurry our way back down the steep hill to the bus station, glancing out at the hillside crowded with so many houses and gravestones. Speed walking down the main road as buildings rose up around us, we admired once more the Ferris wheel jutting out of a department store. The bus station was on an upper floor of the building in town. We must have slept the whole way back. The next thing I remember is stumbling back into my tatami mat dorm room, setting an alarm, and falling asleep. I've been told that what was characteristic of that age of Catholic writers is that none of them wrote about God or about Catholicism, or they did, but carefully, cynically, with distance, so as not to upset their legitimacy. I've also been told that there is fact in every fiction, that the deepest truths sleep in every story, that every story told is true, just with different degrees of truth. These are the hands that wrote these fictions. These are the feet that climbed the hills of Nagasaki. These are the hands, these are the feet. Mine are the hands, mine are the feet. Mine are the eyes, mine are his body. Christ has no body now on earth but mine, no hands, no feet on earth but mine. Thank you. Our next reader is Evan Bryson. Evan Bryson was born and raised in Union County, Indiana, among family and farmland that has influenced much of his thinking.